Don't give us the bird. Don't give us your stink eye. We try our best, and we're successful. Come watch our show. Bet Rivers sponsors. It's time to start. Enjoy the show.
Well, welcome to Betting Weekly Live, everyone. It is Wednesday, the 12th of March. You're with Steve Wyss and Will White. We're set for another great Champions League evening. Hopefully, Will, good to have you back on the show. I hope you've been all right.
Yeah, good day to you, mate, and good day to everyone out there. Keep the comments and questions coming in. We'll do our best to get to as many as possible. I'm doing well, mate. Yeah, what a competition, eh? Last night was fantastic. Not great for me in a betting sense. I couldn't resist Liverpool draw no bet against PSG, and I think they were a little hard done by, but the football, the quality of the football made up for that, and we've just got a fantastic tournament shaping up. And as we were talking about offline, I think the new format has definitely proved to be interesting and definitely positive from my perspective.
Yeah, I mean, Arnie Slot called it the best game he's been involved in, the Liverpool-PSG clash. Only 2 goals in the whole tie, but they were pulsating viewing, I must say. It was interesting. One of the biggest losers, actually, yesterday on BetRivers Sportsbook was someone backing $5,000 in the penalty shootout, over 7.5 penalties to be converted. So that lost, unfortunately. Donnarumma put paid to that one. There was also a massive loser on Liverpool to go through at minus 370. That was pre-game. So PSG turning things around wasn't good for those particular bettors. But that's a huge result. It was one of the results which completely has reshaped the market in the Champions League. Because this is what we've got now in the draw. We know one of the quarterfinals already. Bayern Munich against Inter Milan on that side of the draw. Barcelona will face either Dortmund or Lille in that half of the draw. PSG are now through and will face either Club Brugge or Aston Villa. I mean, it's going to be Arsenal against one of the Madrid teams. And this is what we get now in the shake-up for the outright futures. Suddenly PSG, from being, 16-1, are plus 350 to win the Champions League. Only Barcelona are a shorter price. So, I mean, I guess that's the first question I've got to ask you, Will. Is that are those deserved odds for PSG? Is there a case that they're now the best team in Europe at the moment?
I think the stars are aligning to suggest that they are the best team in Europe. I mean, they went off draw no bet away to previously who were believed to be the best team in Europe in Liverpool. Granted, they had game state kind of in their favor when it comes to the draw no bet line in that they were chasing a deficit. But also, weirdly, PSG had the strongest underlying data of all teams in the group stage, which was, in the league stage, which is quite surprising given they finished outside the top 8. And so, and then the eye test. I mean, the eye test, it's hard to deny just what Luis Enrique, the progress he's made with this squad. He said they'd be better without Mbappe. And everybody talks about Dembele and Barcola, Kvaratskhelia, but João Neves and Vitinha in that midfield, you can't get the ball off them. It literally sticks to their feet. And like I said, I was on Liverpool draw no bet last night. I just, fundamentally from my kind of value betting perspective, it's a bet that a pro has to really place at Anfield. Under normal circumstances, they'd be going off -0.5, -0.75 there. And draw no bet, I think, adjusted a bit too much for the game state. But it's hard to deny that this PSG team are amongst the strongest in Europe, if not the strongest in Europe. But I'll be taking them on in the outright. I talked them up a few weeks ago, I think during the Man City tie. But I think it might be a little bit early for them, but they scare me. I mean, the rate at which they're progressing under Luis Enrique, by the way, who I think is probably the best manager in world football at the moment. It's pretty scary taking them on, but I think it's got to be done.
What would be the worst result for you as an outright winner.
Real Madrid.
Real Madrid and PSG, I'm guessing, by the sounds of that, wouldn't be good for you either.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's a very interesting one there. We've got Barcelona, obviously the favourites to win the Champions League. I still like them because of the draw they've got. I've got to be honest. We go back to the draw here, Dortmund or Lille. Barcelona should be getting to the semi-finals, and we knew that as soon as the original draw was made. Obviously, the semi-final wouldn't be any piece of cake whatsoever. Bayern Munich are the team that interests me a lot here, Will. I suspect we may well have different opinions about them. I was actually genuinely surprised they made it through Leverkusen. I didn't think there was anything that suggested in that particular matchup. I'm not saying Bayern Munich shouldn't be rated higher than Leverkusen or anything, but in that particular head-to-head, didn't look good for them. But they've come through with flying colours. And it made me think, are there doubts over Bayern Munich with everyone, including myself? Is it more the manager rather than the players, would you say?
I'm interested in Bayern, particularly because they're flying under the radar. I'm normally interested in Bayern because the way I kind of configure my ratings, they generally, I seem to be high on them. And that hasn't done me particularly well in the last few seasons, but I'm willing to take a chance on them again. I mean, they're going under the radar, but they just beat Leverkusen 5-0 on aggregate. I mean, it's no mean feat, and everybody asks questions of company, and I've got to admit I do have my reservations myself. But yeah, my ratings are screaming that Bayern are value. I personally believe Barcelona are the best team in Europe. They're kind of similar to PSG in the sense that, you know, the threats they have in Yamal, Rafinha, mixed in with kind of the control and that they get with Pedri, very similar kind of setups and threats. And I just think Barcelona might be a little bit further down the path, and so I'd rather be on them than PSG. But then Bayern, obviously, they're likely to face Bayern in the semis if Bayern get past Inter, which is not a given, far from it. But yeah, Bayern and Barca are probably the two I'm most interested in.
Yeah, I mean, we've also talked about the top scorer market since with you before. You flagged up Harry Kane as being a bit of value. He's now into plus 250 to be the top scorer in the Champions League. Rafinha is the favourite. Serhou Guirassy, of course, is he still leading the way, Will, or is it? I need to actually look at the latest goals,
No,
but it's really
he was leading
market.
the way. But yeah, Rafinha's leading the way now, I think, with 11. And then Kane and Guirassy are tied. Lewandowski's one further back. And I think now, you know, the plus 250 Kane is probably about right. If I were to have a saver, it would have to be on the favourite here, Rafinha, because Barca have quite an easy quarterfinal ahead of them, with all due respect, playing either Lille or Dortmund. And I can see, I mean, he's on fire, isn't he, Rafinha? And I can see him notching a couple of goals there, which would really give him a strong lead. And meanwhile, Kane is going to be up against the stout Inter defence. And I think, you know, Rafinha with a 2-goal lead over his teammate Lewandowski, even though Lewandowski's on penalties, they're the similar price. It seems like Rafinha's been a bit underestimated.
Yeah, it's an interesting market there, I've got to say. I don't know who I'd put. If I had a free $50 bet, I don't know who I'd go with. Really not sure. Maybe I would go Rafinha, actually. Maybe I would go Rafinha. Someone's saying Mbappe's worth a go. Plus 700. It's still worth it. That's an interesting shout. They've got a tough route to the final.
But he's got a game in hand. I mean, assuming he plays tonight, there are some question marks. But yeah, he does have a game in hand.
What will he be? I think he's plus money to score tonight, though. So, you know, the odds are that he won't score today.
Well, you could probably have him in for half a goal, let's say, getting quite technical.
Yeah, half
now,
a goal now. Yeah.
But let's say give him 7.5.
Welcome into everyone in the chat, and put your best bets today in the Champions League or the Championship, whatever you are betting. Good to see you all, and just looking through some recent comments here. Paul Laguna thinks Inter will take out Bayern. I know Paul's got Inter strong in his book for this Champions League, and you know, I do rate Inter. I think by far the best Italian team, personally, and I do believe they'll go on to win Serie A myself. PSG impressive. A lot of the comments I'm seeing, PSG Everyone's impressed with PSG, and why wouldn't they be impressed with PSG? Kit Kat's impressed with PSG. You've seen it with them here. Cabral says that Karim Adeyemi, one shot on target at plus 105. It's an interesting one for in the Dortmund game. We'll come to that one straight off the bat, actually. Lille moneyline and draw no bet to qualify, says Reece Williams. We're gonna have to go straight into the matches here, Will. Lille against Borussia Dortmund. First leg ended 1-1. Not much action. Just 2 shots on target, by my reckoning here. I think there was only like 15 shots overall. Not particularly great game. Lille are the dog here, plus 175, which I've got to be honest, it really did surprise me. I expected Lille to be the favourites. I thought they outplayed Dortmund in Germany, and I expected them to be maybe minus a quarter ball favourite in this game. But I never get Dortmund right. Like whatever my logic suggests with them, everything for me is pointing towards Lille here. Draw no bet. I like under 2.5 goals as well. I think it'd be quite a tight game. Dortmund always do the opposite to what I expect, Will. So you might as well lock them in to win. But I can't be having Dortmund as the favourite here. Very slight favourite. How about yourself?
Yeah, you've bocked me there a little bit after asking me off air what my best bet was, and I responded with Lille draw no bets or tie no bet. Sorry, and you didn't disclose then that you fancied Lille yourself, and now you have live on air. So I think we all know what's going to happen. But yeah, you're right. Dortmund got backed in to minus a goal in the first leg, and then produced 0.27 xG. Lille produced 0.88 themselves. And 2 goals from 2 shots in target. And so what that tells me is that the tactical master Bruno Genesio, the Lille manager, was able to impose his strategy, his style on that Dortmund team. It's not often that Dortmund get drawn into a game like that at home. And I just don't understand why Lille are underdogs on the Tino bet and to qualify here. They've got a great record at home in this season's Champions League, 1-5, drawn 1, including a win at home to Real Madrid. Sure, Dortmund have the higher quality squad and better players, I guess, bigger name players for sure. But personally, I don't trust them, and I really can't have them as favourites. So for me, Tino bet Lille around about plus 100 is a bet. And then Lille to qualify, I see the minus 112 there. I guess they've got home advantage if it goes to extra time and penalties. I think I'd lean the Tino bet, but just because it's a bigger price than the to qualify personally.
Yeah, don't worry, Will. I'm not going to bock you. I'm not going to tip up the draw no bet here on Lille. Under 2.5 goals, I am though. Under 2.5 goals at minus 130. I think I agree with Reece Williams there. If Lille score first, they'll shut up shop and probably get the result. If you do look at a lot of the Lille matches this season against the top teams, they have been lower scoring. The Real Madrid match comes to mind. Juventus, another one. Yes, they did win 2-1 against Atletico Madrid away, but there was a weird 11 that they fielded that day. Yeah, they've had some high-scoring games, Feyenoord 6-1, stuff like that. But this is a different sort of match. Dortmund have been involved in some lower scoring games since Kovac took over. They're a really random team, though. I can never get them right, which honestly probably means they do win. I really hope they lose. I want them out the way for a lot of different reasons. But I believe that it will be a tight game overall. Surprisingly, 68% of the money's on Borussia Dortmund for this game. 59% of the tickets, I actually thought it might be the other way around. They have been backed a little bit. There's a house special here, if you're interested in it. Borussia Dortmund to score in each half and win versus Lille at plus 375. I don't really like that. But if you do, there will be Dortmund. There'll be people in the chat who do like Dortmund here. If you fancy them to beat Lille and deliver one of their sort of European, not miracles, but they do surprise people in the Champions League. Put it in the chat if you do like Dortmund. There's some other house specials to mention today, by the way. Again, we've got a corner line at 42.5 for all the Champions League matches, over 42.5 corners plus 110. And the goal line for all the Champions League games is 12.5. That's at plus 125. producer Troy sent me in some data actually from this. The last 5 of these, there were 14 goals yesterday, 15 goals the time before, 17 before that, and then 7 and 10. Although with PSG and Arsenal scoring 7 times each, some of those stats could be distorted. But over 12.5 goals is a house special today, plus 125 if you do like those goals. Okay, Will, we've got to move on again to the next game on the list, which we're going to leave Arsenal PSV till the end, but we are going to go Aston Villa Club Brugge now. Aston Villa with a 3-1 lead here, minus 148 now with Bet Rivers, plus 375 on Club Brugge. They have to win in 90 minutes, otherwise they're out. I don't think I'd want to be betting on Aston Villa at minus 150 because they don't need to win the game. And I think Emery could play quite a tight and cagey game tactically. Club Brugge, great on the break, so Emery's surely going to sit deep, right? That's how I would do it. And Emery's more intelligent than me in terms of football coaching. Maybe he gets the opposite to catch them out. But I think knowing what Emery does, he's not going to let Club Brugge play to their strengths, surely.
Yeah, I think the chances are that he does, being the master in these kind of knockout ties, that he might look to sit back and hit Bruges on the counter, which is, like you say, what Bruges like to do. The onus will be on Bruges to kind of take the impetus up here, and it makes for a really difficult game to price up and to figure out where there's any value. You mentioned the game state earlier. Bruges, actually, I thought were very unlucky to lose by 2 goals, certainly in that first leg. It was a pretty even contest. But the market loves the game state adjustment. And this would have been Villa -1 if it was the first leg, probably. And now we're looking at -3/4. So it's moved 1/4 of a goal, which we know is a big move. A full 1 Asian handicap is a big move in football betting. And the money has come for Bruges to push it there. And I wouldn't be surprised to see the money continue to come. But I'm not sold on backing Bruges either, plus +3/4. Emery is a tactical masterclass here, and I can see Bruges being hurt on the break. It's also a real contrast from a totals perspective. Bruges, like we say, they need to attack. And judging by their games so far in this competition, 6 of the last 7, both teams to score yes. 5 of the last 7 over 2.5. I think the total line is 2 3/4, is it? Or is it 2.5, Steve? Do you know?
It's generally around about the 2.75 line, -114 for over. Yeah,
it's a tricky line, isn't it? Because Villa are likely to sit back and Bruges are likely to push on. So... and if you look at Villa's results so far this campaign, 3 of 9 have gone both teams to score yes in the Champions League. So it's, we've got contrasting data, contrasting approaches, and a main Asian handicap line that's appropriately adjusted for game state. So for me, I have gone into the prop markets, and I found a couple that I think are really interesting. 2 young guns to really make an impact tonight, and I'm happy to back them with my hard-earned. The first is Morgan Rogers, that's had a bit of a barren spell recently for Villa. I think he's only scored or assisted in 1 of the last 5.
Seems to do better in the cups, Rogers. I've noticed this over the season. Like Champions League in the cups, he does better than in the Premier League for his goals and assists.
I don't really know, Steve. I don't have his breakdown, and I don't really have a deep enough understanding and knowledge of him as a player to kind of make an assessment of that. But I do know that his data over the course of the season is still strong. 17 goals or assists in 40 over the season. And he's plus 170 to score or assist tonight, which to me feels a little bit big, given the data and given the talent and the influence he has on this team, and given the magnitude of the match. I think the big players are likely to turn up, and I'm happy to back Morgan Rogers at a big price. And then the other one on the Bruges side, Christos Solis to score or assist is plus 265, which to me just seems astronomical. 3 goals or assists in 11 Champions League ties this season, on top of 13 and 24 domestically. And for me, he's Club Brugge's main threat, really. Aside from the kind of creativity of Vanaken in the midfield, I think Solis is their main threat. And he had an assist in the first leg. He also had a huge chance where he was kind of clean through on goal, blasted it over. But I think, frankly, he's a really talented young player, and plus 265 is worth some pizza money, as you would say.
I quite liked Club Brugge plus 1 goal, but the odds are now minus 152. So I can't be advising that at those odds. If it was anything minus 130 or better, I think yes. I want the full goal. I don't think there's a market on it. I've been searching high and low here on Bet Rivers, but I really like second half goals here. I think the second half could kick off because at some point Club Brugge will have a go. They will. And in doing so, it will leave the door open for Villa with their lethal counterattacks, and they could take advantage of it. So I think the second half could get a little bit mental. When push comes to shove, they're not just going to lie down and let Villa play out a 0-0 or 1-0. In my opinion, they'll have a go. So definitely look out in play here. The goal line probably at half time will be 1.5. I'm guessing maybe 1.25 for however many goals. I mean, if more goals have been scored, it could get a bit extreme. But I actually think the first half might be a little bit tighter potentially.
Do you think though, Steve? You said that if there are more goals scored in the first half, the goal line is likely to be higher in the second half. I think that's where the whole opportunity lies. I think if it's 0-0 at half time, the scenario you're describing about there being, Bruges having to push on and there being it opening up in the second half is more live. And therefore, you probably want a 0-0 at half time and a goal line of 1.25, 1.5 to get involved. Whereas if it's, say, 3-0 Villa and the second half goal line's 1 3/4, you probably want to be on the under there because it's more likely that the game would just die off.
I think what I meant was, I need to explain myself a little bit better. If it was, say, 1, it depends on the score. But if it was 1-1, then I definitely would still be getting on the overs. If the game's gone and Villa are 2-0 up, forget it. I wouldn't even get involved because everyone kind of knows it's done there. Who was it? Joe Bamber says he took Bruges plus 1 at home and they lost. He's not going to play that. What I will say, Joe, is that match should have ended 1-1, in my opinion. Like there's the free cone goal and then a soft penalty. Villa did not deserve to win that match 3-1. Draw would have been a bit fairer. If anything, Club Brugge were the better team, in my opinion, on the night. And you'd expect that they were at home. So I just because of that result wouldn't put me off them necessarily. It's just now the game state, it doesn't suit them. That they were much better when they were ahead against Atalanta going into the second leg. If they were leading going into this second leg, I think Villa would be in massive trouble. I really do, but they can control the game from 3-1 up.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. They were phenomenal away at Atalanta, and they're a good team, aren't they, Bruges?
They're not that bad, but this doesn't suit them now. Unless if they can get the first goal, then it makes it interesting. Villa will start to sweat a bit. There could be a few nerves in the stadium. 79% of the money is on Villa, 88% of the tickets. The bettors are not put off by them here, not having to win the game. On the over-under money, 62% of the money's on the under. So the under-backers are out here, Will. Quite liking that. I think I could be taking that, really. The only under result which suits Club Brugge is 2-0. Exactly. So don't really see happening.
I'm guessing that unders money is probably based on the Emery approach, right? Who is going to get the upper hand in the tactical battle?
Yeah, it's a very interesting one. Is that? I think it's a good match for in running rather than pre-game. But your 2-player prop, but just remind us of the two again.
Morgan Rogers, plus 170 to score or assist, and Christos Solis to score or assist, plus 265. I think both of those are shorter to have over a half shot on target, but those prices just look quite juicy to me. So got a bit more aggressive.
Okay, let's go to the biggest game of the day. It comes in Madrid, Atletico Madrid against Real Madrid. For the first leg, I think was magnificent viewing. From a technical level, these two sides were superb. The goals were out of this world. And I was actually quite surprised how aggressive Atletico Madrid were in the game. It had a way more open field than I expected. They've got to win this second leg in 90 minutes at the bare minimum, otherwise they're out of the competition. They're plus 155 to do that, and I think they will get quite a bit of support actually to win the game inside 90 minutes. Over 2.5 goals is minus 150. Both teams score yes at minus 182. That's something that's happened the last 10 meetings. Both teams scored yes. It's a remarkable little stat for this. It used to be really tight and cagey, this match. 0-0s, 1-0s around, but it seems to have changed a little bit. A really intriguing game here, Will. Atletico, can they turn this tie around and as a bare minimum take it to extra time?
I've gone back and forth on this game, and there are so many phenomenal stats actually about this game, and that the last 10 meetings, both teams to score yes is one of the amazing ones, although 3 of the last 4 have all finished 1-1. So initially I wanted to back Atleti Tino bet. I just think it's going to be a massive atmosphere at the Metropolitano. I think Atleti will be hugely fired up. I mean, Real Madrid will be fired up in their more casual way. But the game state, I think it actually suits Real Madrid, because I don't think Atleti like being on the front foot and having to press the play and having to I think Real Madrid will sit back and look to hit Atleti on the counter or in transition. And I think that's extremely dangerous for Atleti. And I'm a bit concerned about that element for Atleti. All of the if I take this back to basics, my model ratings have this as a draw no bet game. And then the initial soft human factors I started to look at made me lean Atleti. Atleti haven't lost a Champions League knockout match at home since 1997.
Really?
Yeah. That is...
How many games would that be?
I don't know, but they haven't lost. They haven't lost a Champions League knockout match at home since 1997. So they haven't lost the Champions League knockout match at the Metropolitano ever.
That's incredible.
They have only lost 1 of the last 7 at home to Real Madrid, and they're unbeaten at home in La Liga this season. So, that's an incredible collection of statistics and demonstrative of how strong they are at home. The other factor they've got in their favour potentially is we examined during the Real Madrid-Man City tie, we examined the importance of Mbappe, who I can't remember whether he was doubtful or actually out for one of those games. Or I think he'd actually just come back from injury, actually. And his Real Madrid's XG differential when he's on the pitch versus when he's off the pitch is off the charts. The numbers are unbelievable. And he's not really doubtful here. He was doubtful for a while. He's in the squad and he's supposed to start. But is he 100%? If he's not 100%, with his style of play and the physicality and speed, he could be compromised and it might be a problem for Real Madrid. And it might blunt slightly the plethora of weapons, the arsenal of weapons they have at their disposal. So, after considering all of that, I was thinking Atleti is probably the play here. But then the game state and the when you start to think about Atleti pushing the play, and then Real Madrid with those guys hitting them on the break when Atleti don't really want to be on the front foot, they'd rather sit back. It's just, will it be cagey? Will it just be extremely dangerous for Atleti? That started to put me off the Atleti Tino bet, and I landed on, all things considered, I actually landed on the tie at plus 260. It just, 3 of the last 4 between these two have finished 1-1. Despite this promising to be a high octane, full of dangerous attacking weapons on both sides, I can't take over 2.5 at minus 150. It's too short. I can't take both teams to score despite the stats on the last 10 at minus 182. And I'd prefer to look for something, because I'm so torn, I prefer to look for something that's a bit of a bigger price and the tie feels right at plus 260. And what also feels a little bit right as kind of a saver, I guess, for a bit of pizza money is Atleti to qualify on penalties, which is plus 1400. There's just something in my gut telling me that if Atleti are going to get this done, it's going to be max drama and potentially penalties. And then the final thing I'll say about this match is that Jude Bellingham to have over 0.5 shots on target at minus 104 seems like a great bet. It's a big night for big players. Mbappe's arrival has certainly kind of dampened his offensive output, still averaging 0.74 shots on target per 90 this season. But if Mbappe is struggling, he may go off early, or it may just mean that Bellingham has to take up some of that offensive slack, and it's likely to benefit him in terms of his shots on target potential. So, yeah, the tie at plus 260, a little saver on Atleti on penalty to qualify on penalties plus 1400, which is a mammoth price, and Bellingham shot on target minus 104. I think those are my plays, but I'm extremely torn on the actual outcome.
Well, my play for the game, it is the newsletter play this week from me. I went in the player props market, Julian Alvarez to score anytime. Plus 200, I advised it at. It's now plus 195. I just think this guy is a reliable finisher. If you're going to back a goal scorer, there's a lot of different reasons that you put up for backing someone, but one of them is his composure is excellent. I think Man City have massively missed him this season. And, the goal he scored in the first game, he's not going to score that again. What you want from him is more of a finish when he's got a high XG of, say, 0.2 or above. And I think you can rely on him for that. They've got to score. He's the most likely scorer. He probably will be on the penalties. They do mix their penalty takers up a bit, Atletico. So not a guarantee on that. But I do like Julian Alvarez. I don't know who's going to win this game at all. Part of me would quite like to see Atletico go through, actually. Kind of fed up with Real Madrid winning everything, right, in recent years. I would quite like to see the back of them here. But they have one of them teams, they know how to get a damn result, don't they? Like, they not even be outplayed and still find a way to get into the quarterfinals. That is what Real Madrid do. They find themselves in trouble. One of their stars delivers. Bellingham, Mbappe, Vinicius, whatever. They do deliver. The referee today is Simon Marciniak. The Polish referee was once regarded as the best referee in the world. He might still be. Just 2.4 cards per game in the Champions League this season. So he's not been dishing many out. 3.94 in his career. I mentioned last week, I think Jack was on, that this fixture doesn't have a recent history of cards. For whatever reason, the refs in charge have not wanted it to get, explode into a bloodbath. But tonight might be different. If Atletico are in trouble, they won't just die wondering. They will get dirty. So I don't want to get involved in the card market. It could go crazy or it could be nothing. There was only one card in the first game.
Yeah, it was.
Lots of celebrating in the crowd.
It wasn't really like the kind of the derby we all expected, was it? The first leg, really, it was kind of much less kind of aggressive, I guess, than we expected, and as reflected in the one card. But
Justin asked, who's the other penalty taker? If Alexander Sherlock's on the field, I think he'll take it because I think he's never missed a penalty. Someone said. Or he's scored a high number of his recent ones. Netted one actually at the weekend after he came off the subs bench there. This won't surprise anyone that 91% of the money is on Real Madrid. Listen, they're going to get money whatever. It's just the way it is. The name, the reputation, everything. 87% of the tickets. The over-under money split. 52% on the over. I think everyone's fearing maybe that 1-1 draw could happen again. It's happened a lot when these two sides have met. There's quite a few comments here saying that they do like Real Madrid to get it done and to even win the Champions League. And I get that. They just find that knack. So it's going to be a fascinating contest in Madrid. The final game, well, this is a bit of it is a dead rubber. I think if you offered both sides just the chance to sack this one off, they would. It's done, isn't it? PSV 7-1 down. Arsenal are in the hat for the quarterfinal. Minus 250 to win this second leg, PSV plus 700. Peter Bosz, the PSV manager, did say there will be rotation. He didn't announce the 11, but he said they're going to focus on the Eredivisie. Arsenal, they can't really win from this match. They don't want to get any injuries, any yellow cards, things like that. We've got a card line at 2.5. There's a couple of player props I quite like, but in terms of the outright and money line and over under sort of thing, I think it's next to impossible really to know which direction it goes in, because we could get a damp squib 0-0, but we could get like a friendly game where the goals do rack up a little bit, Will, because the players are maybe not as focused. It's so hard to judge.
Well, as we've been speaking, there has actually been a huge move for PSV. They're into plus 510, Steve, from the plus 700.
Has that just happened?
That's literally
while we've been on air. Yes, minus 200 for Arsenal now.
It's minus 200 for Arsenal. That tells me that the Arsenal team is going to be very, very heavily rotated. That's what's up with Arsenal. There's somebody out there, nobody knows who gets the team early.
Well, this is going to be a battle of two second teams, really, then, isn't it?
Yeah,
because PSV have said they're going to rotate. We don't know.
Yeah, I know Obispo, who's backup centre back at PSV. He was there at the press conference, so he's certainly one that will change. But if both teams are rotating, it kind of levels the playing field a little bit, right? So there will be money for the underdog, and Arsenal's backups, they're struggling with injuries. And so, if the big guys like Declan Rice and Martin Odegaard are not starting, then it's a big, big drop off. Whereas at PSG, they've actually got quite a bit of depth in midfield. And Veerman didn't start the first leg. I imagine he'll start here. So maybe that favours the PSV angle. But yeah, it does absolutely scupper my suggested bets, which was Martin Odegaard to score an assist at plus 130. Obviously, stakes refunded if he doesn't start, so it's a bit of a free roll.
That could still be a bet. I mean, you can definitely bet it down there. Make sure that it's void if he doesn't start.
Yeah.
He might get that. I saw a lot of predicted lineups that he would start, possibly because he's the captain. Possibly because there's not anyone else, is there, at times?
Yeah, I mean, I'm telling looking at that odds move, that's absolutely humongous. It's still steaming. This Arsenal team is going to be weak. Maybe Odegaard will be in there, but we're probably certainly looking at Raheem Sterling, Ben White, probably one of the Gabriel and Saliba.
Well, do you know I like here, right? And I think he'll get him a start because he wants to get minutes in his legs. Gabriel Martinelli. I think to score or assist here at plus 165. I'm trying to think of players who are going to be motivated to perform here. And there will be some in the Arsenal ranks. And the two players that spring to mind will be him. A, because he wants to get, say minutes in his legs. And B, he wants to make a claim to be the starter in that spot. So I think Martinelli, and you'd rely on him as well to actually finish a chance. Plus 165 to score or assist. The other player, as you mentioned there, is Raheem Sterling. The problem is he's become awful.
I was going to say he's not very good anymore.
So there's people watching this and thinking, "What are you thinking, Steve?" But he's almost certainly going to be on the score sheet. Would you back Raheem Sterling against a second-string PSV to score or assist at plus 140?
I would argue, Steve, when contemplating a to score or assist bet, whether the player is any good is quite an important factor. And I think we agree that Sterling is not particularly good anymore. But he does have a lot to prove.
I bet he tries to force himself on penalties as well.
And he will have a chip on his shoulder, and you never know. He might play the full 90, and it might be against a rotated PSV defense, which is already very leaky. So it could go one or two ways, and we don't really know. Even if we do know that both lineups are rotated heavily, we don't know whether it's going to be like a damp squib and they're just going to pass the ball around for 90 minutes because they want to get on to more important affairs at the weekend, or whether they're just going to be like, oh, let's entertain the world and go out there and show what we can do. I mean, it's guys like Sterling, he will certainly be, a point to prove. So he probably should start. Martinelli, he's also going, just back from injury. He's going to want to regain his place in the starting 11, even though he probably will by default. So yeah, we don't really know. There'll be some players probably that are going full throttle. A lot will depend on how the managers kind of what messages they pass on as well. But yeah, maybe Sterling, even though he's not a very good player anymore. Yeah, I prefer Odegaard, but I don't think he's going to start based off this market move.
That's Kit Kat's bet. Sterling anytime. I can't believe he's saying that, but I mean, plus 240 for Raheem Sterling anytime. I'd rather, well, I couldn't back him myself. He's just not good enough for me. But if he can't score against this team, maybe he never will again, because, this is going to be a really under-strength PSV. It's going to be, I think it's a tough match to actually bet on. I don't know if there'll be a lot of action on this or not, but 70% of the money's on Arsenal, which is not that a lot really compared to what it could be. There was, I think, a house special today, involving this game. Either Club Brugge or PSV Eindhoven to win, full time plus 225. I mean, if you may as well probably just back PSV to win if you want them.
I
fancy them.
I like that, especially now that PSV. If you math that out, I think that's a big value.
Club Brugge or PSV to win at plus 225.
PSV have just shortened, right, from plus 700 to plus 500, and so that's probably a wrong price.
Interesting, yeah. That value on the house special.
Not that we should be giving out wrong prices, but it's just a gift, let's say, to Bet Rivers loyal customers. So I'd go and snap that up, I think.
Very, very good. And there's also a house special in the Madrid derby. Kylian Mbappe or Vinicius Jr. to score the first goal in that match at plus 165. It did the house special with Harry Kane or Musiala did cash yesterday. First goal scorer at similar sort of odds, a little bit bigger actually. So these house specials, they're there. And if you do like them, then get on them. Before we go, we've got a little bit of championship action as well. There was a day of surprises last night in the championship. Two of the top three dropping points, which opens the door for Leeds again to get a bit of a gap there at the top of the table. And they can extend it to 4 against Burnley. And minus 500 here against Millwall. A Millwall side that have beaten Leeds twice this season, funny enough, in League and Cup combined. But minus 500 for Leeds. Portsmouth against Plymouth is another one that stands out to me. I think Portsmouth at minus 167 will. Plymouth look like they've mailed it in now. They got their win against Liverpool, but they've been really struggling since. They're rock bottom of the championship. I actually saw Portsmouth Leeds at the weekend, and Portsmouth are not a bad team at all, really, on the home patch. Bring the fans. Fratton Park is a difficult place to go. I'd be looking straight on the money line there, minus 167 or even the 75 handicap. The Leeds game, and you mentioned to me earlier, there's been quite a lot of money for Leeds today. And I think the reason is because of those results yesterday a little bit. And Leeds are the sort of team you do want to get on now. They're not as good when the pressure's being applied. But when the pressure's off a little bit more, this is when Leeds come to life a little bit. And I think they will get the job done against Millwall. But under 2.5 goals is the one that stands out to me here. Leeds have incredibly good defensive metrics. The only problem is the goalkeeper. Don't personally think Millwall will score here unless he gives them a goal. But Millwall will keep it tight. I think they'll keep it tight for as long as they can. And I could see 1-0 or 2-0 to Leeds United here. Win to nil is at minus 167. That's another possibility if you wanted to cover the 3-0 or even 4-0. But I don't really think the championship's so low scoring this season, Will. It's incredible.
I mean, Burnley obviously are doing incredible defensive numbers, and as are Leeds, and 2.5 is an incredibly low goal line for a minus 1.5 Asian line favourite, but probably justified given Leeds' defensive record and, like you say, just generally the low goal expectancies across the championship.
I mean, yeah, it implies that 2-0 is the 2-0 correct score will be very, very popular here, and that is probably the most likely outcome. To be honest with you, Nish likes Leeds minus 1.5 on the Asian here. I think under 2.5 goals is a bet here for this game, around about evens, just a little bit minus money. Does anyone else like anything else on this card here? Hull Oxford, that's a difficult one. Watford Swansea as well, and Stoke are really struggling against Blackburn Rovers there. Blackburn might get a bit of interest, plus 163. Peter wants the best bet of the day before we go, Will. So what would you suggest as your best bet of the day? Lille?
Yeah, it's Lille feels like the strongest bet. Although the one I just like the most, I think, is Atleti to qualify on penalties at plus 1400. I mean, it's just, don't know. I can't stop
This is like a
thinking about it.
premonition.
I can't stop thinking about it. It's probably going to fall flat on its face and Real will end up winning 3-0 or something, but it's a big old price for what feels like something that could be scripted. But yeah, realistically, the Lille Tino bet plus 100. You may even be able to get bigger if Dortmund. Oh no, Lille, just a bit of money's just come for Lille. So yeah, you might want to take it now. But there was a lot of money for Dortmund in the first leg. Lille plus 100, Tino bet, or to qualify around about minus 110. Those are my strongest bets.
Yeah, my best bet, apart from Sterling anytime, is on that under 2.5 goals. Lille versus Dortmund. And my best player prop is that Alvarez to score at any time. It's plus 195 now. I think it's a big price on a player that's in red hot form who need to win the game. Ranjiv Singh Gandhi, good to see you in the chat. He's got a best NBA bet of the day there. So hopefully we can put that up on screen before we go. There we go. So that's an interesting angle there in the Grizzlies game. But Will, it was a pleasure as always, and I hope you get the results that you want today.
I hope I do too, Steve. Yeah, I'm taking on some pretty dangerous teams. But yeah,
if Atletico win on penalties, I'm going to be hearing your celebrations from here in Yorkshire, I think.
Yeah, I'll certainly be celebrating that one if they get the job done. But yeah, like I said, Real Madrid, a very dangerous team to take on.
Thank you very much, everyone who joined live or on demand. I know we're changed around a little bit with some of the timescales across the globe, but we are back again tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern time. That is 3 p.m. in the UK. Me and James Easton, and we've got the second legs of the Europa League and the Conference League to discuss in those. But good luck, whatever you are taking today. Thank you very much, anyone, again. Remember to gamble responsibly, and we'll see you next time on Betting Weekly Live.